Meeting in order. Everyone please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, clerk, you can have roll call, please.
Sure. Kressel.
Here.
Clot.
Here.
Menard.
Here.
Hibma. Jurdy.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Cavalier.
Okay. It's time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address the council on any issue not on already tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first and last name and address, please.
Ray Friedenland, 104 Hubbard Street in the Sampson's Edition. I'd like to bring the attention of the council to a problem I'm seeing escalating for over 2 years now, and that's the problem of animals, domesticated animals. You would think dogs are a problem, and they are in some places, but in my area, also in the north and south areas, and especially in the mobile home parks, cats are proliferating beyond belief. We had taken the weekend off. We were in South Dakota. I came back and was looking for dandelions, and there was no shortage of those, but I also found 2 dead birds and a rabbit carcass in my yard. About a year ago, I think maybe less than that, I had talked to someone who actually owns a cat, lets the cat out, lets the cat back in when it decides to come back in, and explained to me that he's doing a favor by keeping the mice population down. And I told him I didn't ask him to do that, that I could take care of that. And I think the dog problem is pretty much solved, but I almost always, every week, have to push or pick up someone's pile that was left there as well. And I'm wondering if the council will consider maybe taking some of those 18% increases that we've had for the last 2 years and maybe get an animal control officer to work at least part-time. Or maybe get a live trap that would be available to residents to use to catch the animals that are stray. And it's very difficult to catch a cat, I understand that. It takes some time, more so than a dog, but the cat population is out of control. Also, I noticed my job brings me around town. People are letting their lawns go, and it's understandable because of all the rain we've had. But when they do finally cut the lawn, they're blowing it right into the street. I mean, to the point where the streets are green. And the gutters, I can't imagine, are they cleaning them or were they reconstructing some of the sewer accesses? But I would imagine some of these storm sewers are probably full of lawn clippings and whatnot. And I can't imagine it being good for the river as well, because that's where the storm sewer goes. And it's also unsafe for kids on bikes, motorcyclists as well. And there used to be a policy that there was a fine not only for overgrown lawns, but for throwing your lawn clippings into the streets. So I'm hoping that the City Council will address these 2 problems, and I'm really hoping that there is an animal control officer being considered after what I've said. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Zach, anybody on the phone bridge, please?
Agent logged off.
Okay, no presentations. This brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add anything to tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Joe, is there a second?
I'll second it.
I heard Delane first. Discussion, hearing none. Can I have roll call, please?
Kressel.
Aye.
Clot.
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Jurdy.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Okay, this brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? I have a motion to approve tonight's consent
So
agenda.
moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Henry. Roll call, please.
Kressel.
Aye.
Clot.
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Jurdy.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Okay, no motion carries. No public hearing. This brings us to the regular agenda. Corky, please.
I gotta grab it. Resolution 8.01 is a resolution regarding a grant application with respect to an airport improvement project, AIP.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this
So
resolution?
moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Thank you. Discussion. Corky, please.
Yes, what this is, you may recall that we have previously had a recommendation from the Airport Commission to authorize a request for proposals for bids for the construction of a T-hangar and pathway to the hangar. Those bids were received, and they were exceedingly high, so they recommended we reject those bids. And in the alternative, recommended that we have a bid proposal for just the pathways to the site and potentially earthwork for that site. Again, we've had a meeting with SEH. We had a bid submission. SEH has recommended that we not prepare the site and that we just have the taxiways to the airport accepted and have those constructed this summer, and that's this resolution.
Corky, those taxi lanes for the T-hangars now, are they gonna be asphalt paved?
They'll be paved asphalt, yes.
So my question is, when it comes time to build these T-hangars, is the equipment gonna erect these asphalt taxi?
The representation from SEH is they will not.
Okay,
We won't be doing it twice.
all right, and the funding I see is already there.
The
We have,
funding's in place from the funds we have built up. We have funds of $150,000 a year allocated to us, up to $600,000, and we are within that limit for this proposal.
thank
So
you.
what are the hopes in the future?
The hopes are that we will be able to construct a T-hangar. It'll have to be reconfigured, redesigned, and whether, it's unlikely to go down in price, but we could get a T-hangar that is functional, but just won't hold as many aircraft.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Kressel.
Aye.
Clot.
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Jurdy.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Resolution 8.02, this is a resolution regarding approving an on-sale 3.2 alcohol license for ADITI Inc., doing business as Ameriview Inn and Suites. Just for your information, that's the old Cobblestone.
Okay.
And they have come in and requested a 3.2 liquor license for their facility.
And have they had something like that? in
I
the
gotta
past?
have a,
Oh,
gotta have a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Second,
I'll second it.
Clayton?
Clayton. Now we can have discussion.
okay. Have they had an off sale or on sale before?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. Ashley
did.
takes
They
care of
did?
that.
They did.
Okay. So it's just with the new owners?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Kressel.
Aye.
Clot.
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Jurdy.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, this brings us to our reports. Corky, please. Kinda rushing you there, ain't I?
Ashley is not able to be here, so it fell to me. Just want to get a couple of things here.
No worries.
Yes, as always, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I met with Jason Carlson a couple of times talking about the old Polk County Bank, the Tri-Valley Building. Met with Nick Nicholas. We had firefighter interviews. I met with Dennis Larson regarding his home down on Houston. Met with Steve Kruger regarding various issues. We have had more than one industrial park discussion, and I think there'll be more on that this evening. We have had city administrator tours and interviews. You heard the results of those. We've had a marketing update with Keenan. And we also, I met with Nate Visconti for the IT position, and we made an offer to him, not for the directorship, but for an IT tech with the hopes that he can be working with Zach on budgeting so that he may be able to assume that position of director or a hybrid IT position, and he has accepted that position. And I also met with Joe Kressel, and Joe has asked me to read to you the following. Dear Mayor Stainbrook and my fellow members of the Crookston City Council, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from my position as City Council member representing Ward 5. My last day as Ward 5 Council member will be Friday, May 31st, 2024. My decision to resign my position is based upon personal matters. While my decision was a difficult one to make, it is best for me and my family. Thank you to the citizens of Ward 5 for the opportunity to serve all of you. Thank you to my fellow council members for the time we have spent moving Crookston forward. Thank you to all city employees for implementing new ways of doing the tasks which make Crookston a city moving into the future. Sincerely, Joe Kressel. I've met with CLA and Michelle Hoffman a number of times regarding updating policies, and next meeting you will have a bevy of proposed updated policies for the finance department. And we just today completed detective interviews for the police department, and we hope to have a decision on that matter by the end of the week. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Can I just get some clarification? So there's not going to be a director of IT?
There is not. We've talked to the committee members, and there was a consensus that none of the candidates, we did make an offer to one who rejected it.
Yeah.
None of the other candidates would be appropriate for a directorship.
Okay. And then did you have any more discussions about the Washington School with?
I had one discussion with the superintendent of the school district, and he said they are now entering into negotiations about Washington School potentially remaining open under a new supervisor. At the time I spoke with him last, I believe Friday, those negotiations were ongoing and hadn't been concluded.
So Washington's going to still operate as a school then?
It is.
So is this interim for the IT director, or we're not going to have an IT director?
We won't have someone in the position designated IT director. Zach has assumed a more significant role now in dealing with some budget issues, and we think that the individual, Nate, will be able to, we hope that he'll be able to learn from Zach so that he can be more familiar with budgeting. He certainly has a technical skill necessary, but just not the budgeting.
I don't know. I have to say that I think this position requires, I mean, for all the stuff that we have to do in the future, we need somebody in that IT director seat calling the shots for that.
No question about that. We're continuing to seek that
Oh, we are.
position.
Okay.
Yes,
So you're
we'll-
still searching it, is what
Oh,
you're saying?
absolutely.
Okay, that wasn't very clear with what you've shared, so thank you, I appreciate that. I'm with Delane on that, needing a new director is very
Oh,
important.
we've always been doing that. It's continued.
So
We haven't,
this is, yeah.
this is a temporary
Okay.
fix
Okay, that
for
wasn't-
seeking a new, but we have not withdrawn that application, and it's been
Still an
ongoing.
ongoing search.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Appreciate that.
thank you.
Okay, Shane, anything tonight?
Couple things. We did make an offer to a firefighter or an applicant who accepted the position. So he will be starting on June 17th. So being full staffed will be nice. Participated in active threat training last week, Tuesday through Thursday. Had local PD representation and some county representation. It was very good, and we're going to have some discussions on that going forward. Had a little bit of time, so I applied for a couple of grants. I got to thank the guys for putting on an open house. It was fantastic. It was well attended. They rolled with the punches. We had a couple of things we had to modify real quick, but we got that taken care of. It was really good. I guess we had good feedback. I don't know if we had any negative, but those guys put a lot of work into that. So to have that come together on a Saturday was really good. So it was great to see the participation from all the firefighters. And then I just want to thank Dave Lassard for monitoring the river this weekend. I was out of town, so I gave him a quick phone call, and then he was just kind of my eyes and ears on that as the river came up a little bit. Obviously didn't get up as high as they were projecting, but we had somebody in the city that was here, kind of ruined the schedule for the weekend, but he was able to step up, and so I appreciate Dave for doing that. And that's all I got.
Shane, do you think that having the open house was better for May? Because I know that you had had it originally, was it in the fall originally, and then now? Do you think it was better attended now, or about the
Based
same?
on, it's kind of tough to say.
Right.
The weather and everything worked out for us. I know we probably would have lost maybe a couple more people spraying or something like that in the fields, but I think we got a majority of them there. So the ones that signed up, I just tried to make the message to the guys that, we just got to show our pride to the community, and a lot of those guys stepped up. So realistically, I think it's kind of a coin toss. I'm going to play the odds and say spring was better. And then I look at it and, okay, if we do this in the spring, right before school gets out, that's a good thing to kind of give a little bit of fire safety then. And then we're going to turn around again in October, and we're going to hit it hard again. We're still going to get into schools. We're still going to have some of our contests and stuff going on. So now we're going to get it twice a year. Instead of one big lump sum, we're going to try and spread that out and go twice a year. So hopefully that's going to show benefits.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Shane.
Thanks.
Brandon, anything?
So last week, we've been having quite a few water main breaks on Bolio in the last 5 to 10 years. And instead of throwing another Band-Aid on it, I decided to just replace the main from South Minnesota, right, Clayton? That's Minnesota to Front Street. So it had all been replaced around it, and so we took care of that, and unfortunately we got 2 inches of rain after we did that. So we appreciate the residents' patience on Bolio. I'm hoping we can get through Thursday without any rain, and we should be able to get the road back into decent shape there. And then we had a contractor lined up to fix a water and a sewer service, because it's not super clear whether it's insurance that's going to cover it or the homeowner is going to cover it, and they had a accident this weekend and aren't going to be able to do it. So the wastewater department repaired that sewer today on Sherman Street, and that one turned out to be covered by the insurance. And there is a gal on East Robert that's been without water for about a week, so we're gonna go over there tomorrow and get her water again. I'm guessing that one will be covered by the insurance policy. If it's not, I'll just invoice them through the city for the repair. But I just felt like we had to get them back service, so we just moved forward with those repairs. But that's what we've been doing the last week.
Thanks, Brandon. Greg, anything? No report tonight. Thank you. Jake?
Thank you, Your Honor. Park and Rec staff, we've been pretty busy with mowing. We had a lot of rain and sun, and so we are out doing the best we can right now with what we got and can mow everything between what we mow and then nuisance. We're pretty busy, so we try to send out 3-4 guys a day to go out and mow and get everything taken care of. So thank you for patience, everyone. So with that said too, we have some projects that we're working on. Carn Field, if you've driven by the storage underneath, Gary Stegman and staff have been working on that. So we're gonna get that all tidied up next week or this week. And then kind of take a break because we host sections this weekend. We got asked to host the Section 8A tournament, high school baseball tournament. So we will be doing a lot of work out there starting today and then the rest of the week to get everything looking good and shining up for the tournament. Last thing, we did start baseball and our softball program, our travel stuff tonight was our first night. So they'll start tonight and then they start games next week and go through July. So things are starting and came pretty quick. So, and we also got one out of the 2 new scoreboards up today on Diamond 6. Tomorrow we'll put the other one up and then get Valley out there and get them hooked up and we should be ready to go. So, thank you.
Thank you. Carrie, anything? Nothing tonight. Thank you. Darren?
Just a couple things, thank you. As always, patrol and investigations remains extremely busy. Just a little more on hiring update that Corky mentioned. So, as I previously mentioned with Ryan Brecken leaving for Colorado, about a month ago that created a patrol officer position, a backfill on the detective position. So, excuse me, last week we made a final offer to Robert Haugen. His start date is June 17th. He has just over 3 years law enforcement experience. He currently lives in Crookston, so we're very excited to add him as the newest member of the Crookston Police Department. Then in reference to the detective position vacancy, as Corky mentioned, we are hiring that position internally. We've had 4 internal applications. We conducted interviews this afternoon. They're all very excellent candidates. It's turning out to be a difficult decision. We'll announce who we selected for that position by the end of this week. And then all of you have heard or read in the media, on May 16th, we had a use of force critical incident in the city of Crookston. We had 2 officers involved in that critical incident. They were officers Nick Fladlin and Alex Rudnick. Alex Rudnick deployed his taser. Officer Nick Fladlin fired his department-issued handgun. Both officers used force in a manner to stop a community threat. Officer Fladlin has been placed on non-disciplinary administrative critical leave with full pay and benefits. We requested the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to investigate that incident for us. The preliminary incident or investigation is complete. However, there's still a lot of moving parts to it, a lot to finish before the investigation is actually complete in its entirety. The BCA will be recommending its findings to the Polk County Attorney's Office without a charging recommendation. We're also still working closely with the BCA, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, city and county attorneys, city administrator, and the family of the deceased. We're also working closely with the officers involved to make sure they're receiving the care they need to cope with the outcome of this critical incident. The incident remains an active criminal investigation, so unfortunately I won't be able to answer any questions. However, I can say with full confidence that we are and will continue to follow and meet the requirements set out by statute, to include releasing the body cam footage likely by the end of the day tomorrow. So that's all I have today.
Thanks, Darren. Keenan, anything?
Hi, excuse me. I'll actually borrow Morgan's copy here. Only thing that I have to report tonight is that the first edition of the City of Crookston newsletter is now available to everybody for viewing. There's a couple of ways that you're able to view it at the top of the City of Crookston website. There's a tab up there for a newsletter where you'll be able to click and view a PDF copy online. Otherwise, we'll also have physical copies that are in front of you available to anybody that would like a copy at City Hall as well as the Crookston Sports Center. And that's about all I have for tonight.
It's really good. You did a great job.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck? Thank you. Michelle, anything?
Good evening. I don't have too much to report, but I do just want to give you an update. We, as Corky mentioned, we are still working through some of the policies and procedures, certainly formal policies that you will, again, be getting some more in the next meeting to review. Also, we're making a lot of progress with the audit prep. We're getting very close on a lot of things and plan to really start getting that audit going in about 2 weeks now. So middle of June, get that audit going. And hopefully then, like I mentioned before, then have that issued sometime in July is the goal. So we've been working through a lot of catch up while also trying to, of course, keep what we can keep going of the day-to-day stuff and helping assess that. I am very excited for the HR director to start in a couple weeks because I know one of the things we are working on as well is really taking a look again and realigning duties as needed within our finance team, which, you know, they are kind of overloaded a little bit with some of the payroll tasks without the HR director position, and really realigning those to where they make the most sense to both the positions, as well as making sure we have proper internal controls in place to protect the city. And that will also hopefully free up Ashley's time as a city clerk to really support governance and the city administration as that role is intended to be. So we are taking definitely a look at that and making some changes as we can. Certainly they're incremental as we can't change too much at once. But I know that will be a huge help when the HR director starts, that we can really work on making sure that we have the duties properly aligned within the finance department. So that is the main update I have today.
So other than a finance director, is our finance employees there, is it full, do you feel it's fully staffed, or should we be looking for more at this?
I would say, again, especially once we fill the HR director role, that will really help to, you know, reassess the payroll process, make sure they take on some of the things that are now having to be put on other people. I think that will be a huge help. And once you do have that HR director position, of course, if you end up finding a full-time finance director, that's the other piece of this as well. For now, you know, we are helping out. But I think if you're asking for in addition to those two roles, I don't think another one would be needed at this time. But I won't want to say for sure because, again, we'll really have the whole picture once we get the HR director in place.
Good. Thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle.
Can I ask really quick, is this going to be available or is this being sent out to residents? How is this being distributed?
No, that's a good question. So I felt that at least for this time around, while I'm evaluating everything, that's, you know, just leaving copies that are available for people that want to seek it out and pick it up was a better way to go about it than doing like a direct mail delivery. That's not to say that can't be updated in the past, or rather going forward, but at least this time around, we just decided to just leave it for people that wanted to pick up a physical copy.
Okay, so it'll just be available like upstairs in those little.
Yep, so it'll be in the front part of City Hall here on the left side where you can pick up all those pamphlets there, and then not exactly sure right off the top of my head where at the Sports Center, but we'll be dropping off copies there as well.
I think another good place would be the realtors' offices too. So something to consider, and maybe even like the university. So, but yeah, good job.
No, I have enough copies that I got one, so I could definitely do that.
Wonderful, thank you.
And the library.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Maybe even the hospital too, that could be another good one.
I gotta make some trips.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't forget, let's start with Don tonight, anything?
No report, Your Honor. You hear
You
me?
here?
Are you there, Don?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, you got anything to report tonight?
I said no report, Your Honor. Honor.
All right, thank you. Tim, anything?
I had the opportunity this afternoon to visit the new daycare center that is owned by the city of Warren. And they had a very unique approach to funding this $3.1 million facility. They're hoping to open the doors on July 15th. They had to push the date back because the rains haven't allowed them to do any concrete work. It is adjacent to a brand-new assisted living facility, and there is a generous member of that assisted living community that has donated funds to create a pergola patio facing the child care center so that there will be an opportunity for seniors to engage with the littles at different times. They'll be able to accommodate 110 children in this facility, and they're hoping that with this unique funding between the tax that they were approved to levy, they have a sales tax of 0.5%, and they included funding from DEED and several other Minnesota granting agencies. The full package will completely pay for the facility, and the result will be that the nonprofit that is coming in to provide the daycare services will have a nominal lease expense, which will result in a low cost for the families that will be seeking the services provided. So they're looking at approximately $45 a day for children in services at this daycare. So if anybody is up in the neighborhood, it's in the southwest corner of the city, right behind the new hospital, just adjacent to the assisted living facility, and it's really stunning. So it's a model that I think that when we're looking at how we're going to solve our daycare problems, Delaney and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, is to consider the Warren model. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Dwayne?
One of the things I was hoping that we could do maybe going forward is the folks that come here and address the council, and maybe following up on their concerns, the next council meeting that we have, of what we did to look into the issues presented and publicly maybe get back to the people that bring issues to the council. Is that something that we can try to do?
We can do that. I believe we have done that. I believe the last time a citizen was here talking about Houston Avenue, both Chuck Getzman and I researched that and sent him in.
You've probably gotten back to him personally though, right?
Yeah.
We don't-
Oh, you want it here?
Publicly.
Okay.
I think I agree with you. I think wherever we can have transparency and showing that we are putting the effort through is important. So yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Publicly, I can tell you, we got back to him. We gave him the ordinance that dealt with the flood fund and explained to him what our interpretation was. And so far, we haven't heard anything back.
Okay. The only other thing is, thanks to Joe for the time you spent on the council. Appreciate it. Got to know you a little better, and good luck in the future for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dwayne. Joe?
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Clayton?
I'd like to thank Joe Russell for his time on the council. Appreciate it. Also, I'd like to thank Ray for stopping in and bringing up the grass cuttings and the cats and dogs, because I know in my area we had the same problem. I drive all over town during the day and see a lot of grass mowed out onto the streets. And as he said, it's a concern for people that ride motorcycles and bicycles. So thanks, Ray, for coming in. We appreciate that. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Henry?
No report.
Christie?
I'd agree, thanks Ray for that, and then check if we just kind of get some follow-up on the grass. I know that there was something that was put out citywide about those grass clippings and where they should or shouldn't be put, but I think maybe we can address a little bit further to see what the full extent of that is. So that'd be great, and also just kind of finding out what we've done in the past as far as the animal control piece would be an interesting portion to address again. CVB this month was moved, and then it was moved to the date that I had a dentist appointment, so unfortunately I wasn't able to be there, but I will get an update and share that at the next meeting.
Thank you. Not much on my end. I just went to the memorial service for Memorial Day yesterday, and it was, considering what the weather was gonna do, was decent attendance. Senator Mark Johnson, he gave a nice short speech on regarding, you know, he was honored to be there, considering he was never served in the military, and the respect he has for our veterans. Ray, appreciate your time coming in tonight. Joe, thanks for your time. Wishing you the best. So you got your house on the market already?
Yep, just got it on, yep.
So, just a reminder, there will be a Ways and Means Committee meeting following shortly. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So nothing else coming to council. We are adjourned. before, we've got just a couple items on the agenda. We will start with the Industrial Park Railroad Spur. Are you gonna leave that off?
Yep, I'll leave that off. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people here tonight that have been part of this whole project coming together, so I'll have them introduce themselves as they come up, because it takes a lot of different, takes deed and USDA and EDAs and board members and RDCs and then our Chuck and Brandon, and so there's been a lot of people working on this project, but briefly up front, I'll give you an overview. If you want to throw that map up, Keenan, please. So if you're looking at that map, and I gave you a printout, you'll see there was I wrote down the meaning just for you, Tim Menard. Minnesota Railroad Service Improvement Grant was awarded to Minnesota Northern Railroad for $1.565 million. Originally, we had started looking at putting a railroad spur on the industrial park earlier this year, but it was pretty hesitant for the city to own it. Nobody really wanted that to happen. So Minnesota Northern put in a grant request, and they will be owning the railroad spur. And that was awarded here, I think I announced that a couple weeks ago. And so we're excited to hear that. So that's another investment that has come in. And you'll see the red line, and that will be the first phase of the railroad spur, kind of takes that first corner right here. But it is set up for phase 2. Once we get the first phase established, then there'll be an application put in for the second phase as we begin to develop the businesses there. The grants that we're going to be going after is a U.S. EDA grant, U.S. Economic Development Authority grant, and that will be the business development, oops, I said the wrong word there. Which one was that, you guys? Public Works. And that's a federal grant, so they'll pay up to 50% of your project. So the project we're looking at with a high estimate is $6.6 million. So we would be asking the US EDA for $3.3 million. And if you'll just hold your questions for the end, we'll kind of go through the whole process, and then we'll talk about funding and everything else on this. This will also include, you see the 2 gray roads? AIC campus is over here.
Okay.
We did that in 2023. We'll extend that road straight up, and then we'll go over to the spur. This also includes the water project, so all of the water would be mitigated. We'd be looking at one large pond instead of having every single property have to have its own pond on there and go through that expense. So that would be assessed over the entire property. Chet, I'm going to have you come up and maybe talk about the project that happened in Foston, and we're kind of modeling after what happened in Foston with our other grants that we'll be looking at.
Thank you, Council. Chet Bodine with the State of Minnesota. I've been working with Carrie on this project now for 2 years, year and a half. And during that time, a similar project was taking place in Foston, where Foston received an EDA grant to build out their industrial park to add another 21 acres approximately. And when they got the EDA grant, they sent a letter to us, and it said the award date and had all the information on it. And we were able to immediately match that as the fund. And it was good to see that precedent set up in the region, because I think we can continue that. We've built a relationship with the EDA officials that represent Minnesota. They know that, you know, we're active up here and making things happen. So I hope to support these guys as they continue to move forward on that, and we'll try to do the same one here. So.
Yes, so that would be the deed grant on that would be the Business Development Public Infrastructure Improvement Grant. So we'd be applying for that for $2 million. That leaves us a gap of $1 to $1.3 million, depending on how the estimates come in. We did estimate high, because we don't want to end up coming in over. So that is another thing we'd be applying for. But just briefly, I'm going to invite Sean Rainham from Northwest Regional Development to come up. But just briefly, investment to date on the industrial park, the Minnesota Railroad Service, of course, that was $1.565 million that was just awarded to Minnesota Northern. The Innovative Business Development Public Infrastructure Grant is what we received this year, was $452,000. The state invested another allocation of $890,000 to get that AIC campus road in. That was for the first phase that was completed in 2023. The state also invested around $7 million for the Ag Innovation Campus. So the state has totally invested $9.842 million into our industrial park at this point. So that's a lot of investment. We're really, really excited about that and thankful that they're seeing the value in that. And I'm going to ask Chet too before you go. Can you talk about the value of a railroad spur and a public railroad spur and access?
Yeah.
Can I just like also add to that too? My understanding is that there isn't a public spur that's like remotely in this area, right? So a lot of our farmers are having to go down to what, St. Paul? Yeah, if you could share on that.
I'll preface it by saying all this I learned during this process, so I'm not an expert in this area, but the way I understand it is the last public transload site in the region was in Dilworth, closed in the 90s, maybe earlier. And so a lot of specialty crop growers don't have a place nearby to take their stuff, pretty much go either direction. So some are now taking it all the way to St. Paul to put on rail car there to go back west this way. And we heard that enough times that we said, let's figure something out. The AIC was a big advocate, you know, and saying this is going to benefit the region. And so we pushed it.
Right, and Darren Fleener from USDA was a strong proponent.
He was at the first meeting and we talked about it.
Yeah, I'll go back to that. Darren Fleener is our representative from the USEDA, and he was the strong proponent of this specific, the spur coming in. But again, we just had to figure out what was the best way for ownership on that. So the first phase will come in, and it'll come in at the, where you saw it at the end of the line there. North Star Lime has committed to putting in $1 million worth of building in there immediately, so that will be an immediate tax base for us to begin with that. Soico International from Gary has been talking with them. She ships her containers right now down to St. Paul, and she gave us a letter of intent that she would move part of her business up here to our campus up here, and there's could likely be a partnership between her and North Star Lime because they also have a trucking component, and her busy season is their slow season. So we're looking at, is it a separate facility for her, or would that be a facility that would work in conjunction with North Star Lime? So we have two very strong candidates already to go in up there. And then, Sean, I'm going to ask you to come up, introduce yourself.
Say, Carrie, who was that letter of intent from?
SOYKO. And that was, both of those came along, that's how we were able to apply for the Mercy Grant for the railroad spur. Those were two businesses that said that they gave interest in the commitments on connecting with us for those.
I think, to add on to that, when we were at the Northern Crop Institute too this last year, they talked about the importance of being able to move those commodities out to the west in order to get them to Europe and to Asia.
Correct.
And so I think that should be considered as part of why.
Well, they hit Burlington, yeah, they go to the west, and then, of course, the port's over there. But then also, they grab the two, right along the two, there's a railroad that goes straight over to Duluth. And Duluth is opening its ports back up. There's a lot of stuff happening in Duluth that we haven't been able to access before. So that's another driver on this. They're even building, I understand, smaller ships that can get through those lakes right now because the larger ships can, so. I'll introduce you, Sean.
So I'm Sean Ranum. I work up at the Northwest Regional Development Commission in economic development, or also their revolving loan fund program. So our work may have crossed paths fairly recently. But yes, so in working on this project with Carrie, I'm, I guess, the conduit gatekeeper with the USEDA, so I'll be involved in the federal application side of things. But yeah, we were looking at this project and trying to maybe put it into perspective here. So I grabbed your existing industrial park space. Is there a way you can maybe zoom in this PDF by chance? Or they have it in front of them too, I guess.
Yep.
So with the exception of a couple of parcels, one of them is county owned and one of them is Crookston or Cheetah owned. So I excluded those, so everything basically outlined in green. Those are all commercial or industrial spaces, right? I just went and pulled the tax information for all those and put it on that corresponding Excel spreadsheet. Just so you can see what that 81 acres generates in tax revenue for the city. I mean, you can see the county and the estimated market value and things of that nature, but what does that bring in for the city? Now, not trying to do anything fancy in terms of forecasting, because I don't know what the makeup of this industrial park is going to be, but this is a comp that's right across the street. So, assuming that you can do something similar, and then it's all new build, I mean, and you have 90 acres total, you know, you would expect to see revenues probably higher than that 136,000. Below that line, I also included, just kind of for reference, like the Ag Innovation Campus. This was their first year that they hit the tax rolls. You know, that's 18,500 for the city. That was a 10-acre space. And then there's two other existing adjacent properties, so Calumet's on the south side and then North Star Lime's on the east. So yeah, the whole point of that was just to kind of give you an idea of the revenue that can come from an industrial park space like this. It's an existing space that you have, so I was hopefully, you know, painting the picture a little bit as to what it should look like or can look like, at least from a tax perspective. So I hope that's helpful. That's maybe actually a good spot for questions, I guess, since it's kind of a little bit different than just the project itself.
Did you say it only generates 136,000 all those properties?
Yep, 136.6. So it's a lot of properties. Well, this is everybody. If you look at this spreadsheet, this is everybody that's paying property tax in that area. But that's including all your like open lots, your parking space. You know, it's not just all the industrial space there. But yeah, you have D, you have your ag dealerships or your big.
But Flyer would be a big one.
New Flyer is a big one. Yep, they got a couple parcels listed here. Strata. Yep.
Yeah, well, I was just surprised. I thought it'd be a lot more than that because of thinking where D was at on the taxes.
And this is city.
I went back and forth.
This is only the city portion that I was referring to there.
Okay.
So like in total, yeah, you're talking 315.
So that 314 would be like the whole county?
County, school district.
School district
Yep.
and city?
Yep.
Okay.
That would be excluding any special assessments though.
Okay, yep. Good job. Thank you.
So, we want to get this project in front of you because in 2 weeks when you meet again, we'd like to propose that we are able to apply for the 3.3 million. And then if we are awarded that, then we'll turn right back around and apply for the deed BDPI grant on that. Is Todd Hagan on Zoom?
Can I ask again, so what is the total cost that we're estimating for this project?
6.6,
Okay, and then we would have,
3.3 from EDA, and then we would apply for 2 million from deed. So we would be 1 to 1.3 million if those are awarded. And then when we were talking to Todd today, I'll just speak for him and then, you know, oh, great.
I'm here.
Hi, Todd.
Hi.
I was just going to talk for you.
Well, keep going. No, that's fine.
Okay. So I was just saying if we're awarded those two grants, we'd be looking at 1 to 1.3. If for some reason the other grant does not come through the BDPI for 2 million, then we'd be looking at 1 to 3.3. And we were talking today on how that would be handled if that was the case, right?
Yep. So I can kind of shed a little bit of light on trying to close the gap, if that's okay. So Todd Hagan from Ellers and Associates, your friendly municipal advisor from down in the cities here. Thanks for having me on Zoom. I appreciate it. So this is a pretty typical. It's a large project, but it's pretty typical as far as issuing bonds to finance the gap, basically. So we talked, Sean and Carrie and I, and we talked a little bit about your options there in Crookston of how we could best leverage what we've got there for funds and ability to bond. So I think right off the bat, I don't believe you have any outstanding bonds. And so the city does have the capacity to issue general obligation bonds to finance its local share of a project like this. So then we kind of ask ourselves, do we use what kind of bonds, right? Are they long-term? Are they temporary interim financing? Do we mix it up a little bit with some cash on hand and bond kind of 50-50? Because, you know, you do have a mechanism under state law to for interfund loaning, right? So you can put your own money to work while we're, you know, constructing this and kind of ramping up the project itself. So so we looked at, you know, all sorts of different ways to do it. And I just know, you know, there's a lot of risks here at the beginning of a project like this. You know, if we bond for it, you know, we have to pay bondholders, right? You know, on certain dates, you know, with an interest rate and all that. And let's say we don't have, obviously it's going to take a while to, you know, fill the industrial park, right? And so what we don't want to do, like what had happened a lot in 2008 to 10, you know, when the housing bubble burst, that, you know, there's municipalities out there with, you know, you build it and they will come and let's just, you know, go for it, right? And then all of a sudden everything stopped. And what we thought was gonna, a bond that was paid for, let's say from 100% assessments, right? What the idea was, it wasn't gonna spill over into the general taxing folks, right? The other properties ended up doing that, right? So, because we just didn't have it, you know, moving forward fast enough to make bond payments, right, from special assessments. So, you know, there's a couple different ways to, I think, mitigate that risk a little bit. One, like I had mentioned, was to look at internal loan funding for some of it, kind of a hybrid, right? And then bonding for some of it as well, or all bonding or all interfund loan during the ramp up period. And then, you know, take it out with long-term bonds, right, that are paid for from 100% special assessments. Because, you know, you also have to be mindful of, you know, the high investment rates, right, on your cash right now too. So, you know, a bond could be maybe 3.5% to 3.8, you know, for a 15, 20-year bond, as opposed to, you know, money in the bank, the cash. I'm not an investment advisor, but I keep hearing 5.25, you know, something like that in the bank too. So we have to be mindful of, you know, right, the proper mixture of using our own funds and then using somebody else's money, right, in the form of bonds, right, to do this. But we have to be very careful not to lock ourselves in. I don't think to maybe long-term financing right away. Maybe we issue some short-term, you know, interest-only 3-year sort of construction, you know, loan bonds, maybe one of those, see how that works in conjunction with some interfund loaning, right, from city cash or what have you, and then just get a feel for where this industrial park build-out's going, right? And then I think too, what I do quite often is if we have an assessment on all the properties, whether it's based off the million or 3 million or what have you, then we could also to market the properties a little bit better too, is if those assessments are a little high, we can mix that in with tax increment financing or tax abatement financing. So what we do with that is for each parcel that needs it or requests it, in a perfect world, nobody would request it and everything would be just fine. But let's say some do, they can offset, you know, their assessment payments by the tax increment they receive for, let's say, I don't know, up to 9 years or something, right? So that way we can capture the county and the school and, you know, the city, the new taxes, like Sean had said there, showed you what the potential that is from a good comp you've got in the city right now of how that might work. So that's how we kind of package up the gap on this stuff. You know, we as a city don't want to rely on anything other than the assessments. So we'll have the tax increment or abatement be secondary, that would go to the property owner to help them pay the assessments. And after that, we just have to, you know, there's nothing more we can do but market the heck out of this thing, right? And get it moving as fast as we can. And I think for maybe some of the properties that are built out sooner rather than later, maybe they're larger ones, you know, if they're not asking for any assistance, then we're just that farther ahead, right, of everything. So it's usually we get some pretty good, you know, like the railroad and those folks, you know, we get some good anchors there, right? And then that just helps, you know, market the rest of the industrial park. So I just throwing out some ideas of how to lessen the risk for the city. You know, if we're borrowing money, like for bonds, it's, you know, we have to pay that. If we borrow it from ourselves, we've got a little bit more flexibility. All this can be taken out later within 3 years from a bond issue. So if we want to put our money back and not wait so long for it to come back, that's when we would trigger, you know, more of a long-term, maybe larger bond issue. So there are some good options, I think, for gap financing, but aside from more money, right, free money falling from the sky. So that's what I've got for you folks as far as just something to think about, that you do have ability to fill that gap. It's just what your tolerance is for risk.
No, I think just to kind of add on to that, and just what you guys are talking about so far, is that if having that rail spur there, you're going to have company who are going to want to utilize that, which means that they're going to need some type of storage space outside of what Northern Line's going to have, as well as Soy Tokyo. And so just to understand that could also increase the tax base by having more storage facilities, which then would then be able to utilize that rail line as well. So, and then I think the other thing to carry is that outside of just relying on that 2 million, is I wonder if there's other grants that we can apply for in the meantime, or if we do a shorter bonding here to like compensate until we could get other funding. I think that could be another possibility to consider as well.
Yeah, we've been looking at the IIJA funding and some of the different matches that are at the state level. The state right now is still shaking loose a lot of those funds, so they haven't all come down. But if something else opens up, we're all keeping an eye on those. And I think I told you I met with the person at state who's in charge of the IIJA and the IRA funds. So his name is Micah. It was an interesting meeting. He's very interested in a lot of things that are happening up in Crookston. So the other thing I want to say on there is this will be a shovel-ready project. Once we're done, this will be shovel-ready. The infrastructure will be in place. So when site selectors are coming, Chet, can you talk a little bit about how site selectors, like how that works with deed?
Sure.
Yeah, you have to be on the microphone, sorry.
That was off the hook. Thanks, Carrie. We do some traveling around the country, Midwest, Southeast primarily, talking about Minnesota and our best sites, what our inputs are. Here we have several feedstocks that are interesting for industrial ag production and a history of it. So we talk about that, and we'll talk about the rail spur too once we get that set up. So yeah, and I'd say like this last year, I bet I saw 3 projects that came to my email inbox, and that I thought would have been good fits for here. But we weren't quite able to compete because of a couple things, and I think we're addressing them. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just for extra clarification on that, so basically what you're saying is that businesses will come to you and say, hey, this is the type of product or whatever we're wanting to do. do you have a space or a location that you think would be best fit for our business? And then Crookston can be considered as one of those if we align with what they need as far as rail spur and things of that nature, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for breaking it down.
Okay.
Yes.
You have a whole marketing arm that with Deed that is working on this.
Yep, and how would I? No, I think you actually summed it
So
up really well, yeah.
it's just
so-
making us more marketable, if you will, by having more access and these other things.
Yeah, so, speed to market is a big deal, right?
Yep.
Transportation is a big deal, so those are some cost-saving things right away. Especially because we're a higher tax state, we can actually point to some things that we invested the tax dollars in. So, yep. It's a message I say is that, yeah, but look at this great space, you know,
Right.
so,
So it's making Crookston more marketable
100%.
for
yes.
new business.
Mhm.
I think that's the big part that I think is most important to us as a council is, getting more industry, jobs.
Tax base.
Tax
Yeah.
base, so.
So just, I agree with 100% of that. Like, I'm all for that, but I just want to just make sure I'm understanding and wrapping my head around all of this. So if we got everything like the 3.3 and the 2, we would then have to come up with the 1.3 on the high end, right? Do we have our assessments for our roads and our sewers? Do we know when we're getting that back?
I think we don't know at this point.
Okay. I'm not even thinking that. I'm just thinking we have to come up with the 1.3. Yes, we can bond. I agree with 100% needing to bring in tax base to help pay for that. Just also wondering what other projects that are we having coming down the road as a city that we are also probably going to have to look at bonding or how we're paying for. Just, I don't know. Do we have
the
those?
infrastructure
Yeah,
studies being done for the roads and the substructure.
Yeah. Do we know when?
My understanding was that we were supposed to be getting them probably within a month or the end of June. Does that sound right, Brandon?
Is the question for
Public Works?
the roads?
Yeah.
The
So that
infrastructure.
report should actually be done in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Both and Nate will be here to present, I believe.
And I understand that it's two different things, but I think when it comes to projects of knowing that there's big numbers, it's important for us to look at it as one giant whole instead of piecemealing money here and there.
And that would be tiered. There are some that would be immediate,
Right.
some that would be intermediate, and some.
Right.
Well, I think that would be coming down to our finance department as well, having those discussions. to see
Right.
where we are.
That's just my question of when we'd be getting that if we can look at it as one giant holistic.
Sure. As soon as it's
Well, I think
tiered,
that's
you'll
also
get it.
where Ellers comes in and
Right.
the eventual finance business plan that's supposed to be implemented once that portion is done. So I think that's the conversation we'd be having as part of that, correct? Yep, yeah, so.
Because I just feel like that has to be part of when we're talking these types of numbers, the other things that we also have to.
Like you would like a projection probably of when
Yeah,
you could
just-
pay that off, given our,
No,
that might be a bridge too far, but-
Right, and not even that, of just knowing it's okay, we're asking for 1.3 here, but then I'm just making up a number, so anybody listening, I'm just literally making this up because I know nothing, but let's say then it's 3 million in roads, right? So then it's okay, is that even gonna work as much as we wanna do this, right? But these are things that are gonna break down and we're not gonna have water, right? Unfortunately, we need water and sewer. Nobody's gonna come live here with this if we don't, that's just my.
Well, I think that's, again,
That's
that's
my-
a
that's what I was-
5-year plan versus something that's more immediate. And so I think that's where the conversation comes in about the fiscal municipal plan that we would do, so.
I just didn't know if it was in a timeline of it's gonna be 6 months or a month where we could kind of look at it as one big thing. Because I know these grants and all of that doesn't happen overnight
And
either.
they keep cycling around too, though. So
Right.
if it doesn't work this time, we'll make it work some later date, so.
I'm not saying I don't want it to work.
Do we have a match requirement for the US EDA grant if we don't get anything else?
50%.
So do we make that representation at the time of the application, or how does that work?
At the time of the application, they're going to ask that we have the bonding capacity and that we're willing to do that if we do not receive another grant. So that's what, we talked to Todd to make sure that we do have the bonding capacity, and since we have no bonds at all out there, that is.
So that is a requirement that we guarantee if we get that grant, we have the remaining portion.
You could, if we get nothing, you could not apply for the EDA, or you could turn the money back over to EDA.
Decide at that time.
You could decide at that time,
Yeah.
yeah. Not that that would be a favorable thing, they wouldn't love us for
No,
doing that, but
obviously.
yes, that is definitely an option.
It's not what we're trying to do.
No, we're not trying to do that, but to answer your question, Corky, we can deny it.
So if we get the grant, and whatever the council decides can be denied, but we are representing, we have that capacity.
Right. And I wanted to talk to you tonight because tomorrow morning we have, the EDA has paid for $28,000, the first part of our engineer fees with Houston. They won the RFP, remember the RFP, you guys all came out and went through that with us, yeah. So they won that bid and we've got through 28,000 of it. And so we're right around halfway's done. So we've got about 33,000 more to go. And that will include getting all the water bottling finished up, tightened up, buttoned up. It will include the surveys, quite a environmental. So 100% of that industrial park will be ready for action. So I'm bringing that to our EDA board tomorrow morning. So if you are, as a general consensus, not a vote, but as a general consensus that we should move forward, then I will propose tomorrow morning to our EDA that we take the remaining funds, which were depleting quickly over there, but that we would pay for that rest of the engineering. And it'll be up to, they charge us by the hour, so we don't, they're pretty reasonable. They've done a great job, Houston has. So they'll charge us up to the $33,000 to complete that project, and then that will be intact and we can move forward on the whole project. And even though I know that the 3 millions, I'm hoping that we end up with the 1 million or 1.3 million, but it is exciting to see all the interest that is coming to Crookston from not just the EDA, but from different other departments and entities are coming up to Crookston saying, hey, they've got a lot of good things going on up here. So congratulations to the council for moving it forward, and congratulations, you know, Corky, I know you're a short timer, but thank you for pushing it all forward and bringing everybody together on it. So any questions for me on this?
So do you need us to give you an indication of
Yeah.
consensus with regard to?
Yeah, because if you
moving
hate it,
forward
we're just
with
going to
that
not do it.
project? Okay, I'm for it.
It's my understanding that what you're asking for would be in the form of a resolution at the next council meeting.
Yes, yes.
This is just
So
a
consensus
preliminary
now.
discussion.
If there's good discussion, if there's consensus, that if nobody hates it, then I will feel comfortable going to EDA. But if you guys hate it, then I don't want to bring that to the board, spend another $33,000 and to, you know. But I will be asking you that we can apply at the next council meeting with a resolution. This is just to get it in front of you and answer any questions that might be unresolved.
But we really need to conclude that study in order to make a real evaluation by next council meeting, yes? We need to go ahead with that Houston engineering study.
Oh, no, we're fine on it. We'll be fine on it.
No, not us, but you need to go ahead.
Oh, I have to go ahead tomorrow morning,
In
yeah.
order to bring a
Thank you.
proper proposal to
Yes.
this group.
Yes, correct.
Please go ahead.
Yep.
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 Feel good? Nick and Tom, did you want to say anything?
I just, the only thing I have to say is, you know, this is kind of history, it's not what's going on currently. You know, all those projects are good, I'm in favor, but those of you that have been around here for a long time, and I was gonna ask Chet on, when there are companies that wanna come in, Crookston or wherever it is, if it's Boston, are they coming in that they're gonna finance themselves, or are they coming in looking for bonding? And the reason I bring that up is, this goes a long way back, but in 1996, when New Flyer came into Crookston, those of you that were here at that time, you'll remember that the city bonded that whole building for those people, which was a good thing. I mean, it brought 200 jobs in all that time. At the time, financially, they did not know if those guys were going to survive it, but they moved forward with it. So they put them in. In the meantime, we built a $9 million addition and did the high bay. So we came to the city asking for some bonding help. What had happened was, they went all out with New Flyer, there was nothing left, because they were at their max. And so, I don't know the difference. I don't know if it was 20 or 25, whatever it was kind of maxed out at that time, because it was during mayor changes, and a lot of the people that had businesses in the industrial park were really against it, because they said, well, you're gonna come in, you're gonna get our employees, we're gonna pay more tax, and they're on the ride, and the city's responsible ultimately for that bond. Well, so we asked for a bond, so there was no money left to bond us, and so what they did was, they gave us a non-obligation bond. And the only advantage of that was because it's kind of a government entity, there's no interest on it. It's, well, a different interest rate, I'm not saying that right. So then we took our documents and we went to Piper Jack in Minneapolis to float us out. And then US Bank did about $1.5 million, and Bremer did $6.5 million, which, I mean, in the end, it all worked out. But what I'm saying or cautioning is, remember that, you know, you're gonna put $1.5 million, $3 million, or whatever, which I think is good if you look at what everybody else has put into this thing. I mean, you gotta do something if you want it, you know, if you're gonna bring the jobs in and all that. But what I'm cautioning about is, people that are coming, they're gonna come and they're gonna be asking for something. And probably it's gonna be some bond money to help them along to finance this thing. The other thing they're gonna ask for is a 10-year TIF where about 70 to 80% of that tax is going back. I mean, they pay the tax at the end of the year, you refund it back. So it doesn't happen overnight. It's still, it's a good thing because it creates jobs and everything else. Does Crookston have the housing and all that? I don't know that. But I'm saying when you look at how much you're gonna bond for, I guess, you know, you're gonna have to get your bond rating, see what bond you can max out at. Because if you go with your street projects and all that, is that gonna leave anything for these businesses that would come in? And if they do, how much are they looking for? That's all I caution.
Sure.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that we need to get information on between now and June 10th. Talk to Ellers about what is our bonding capacity, what is our rating, how much can we levy it, or how much can we bond at one time? Those are all questions that need to be answered by June 10th.
But again, all the successes have been with the city. I mean, every one of their bonds that they did that were obligation or non-obligation, everybody's paid back. So there's never been a bad experience in that. Not every community can say that. Yeah, you almost have to, because if you're gonna have somebody come out here, let's just say XYZ company, and it's 100 jobs, you know you're gonna have to do a 20-year deal, you know,
Sure.
do intermittent.
And that's why you are on the cheetah board.
And you're never leaving.
Tom, do you have any comment on the bond rating and how long it will take us to get that?
Yeah, no problem there. Yeah, so we would be looking at general obligation bonds for the infrastructure here, the street utilities to make this shovel ready. We don't want to mix that up with what they call conduit bonds that a private developer would use in Crookston's name only. That really doesn't have any obligation to the city. So each one of these properties that comes in, or these companies that come in to occupy a parcel, we'll take that as we go, right? Whether they need tax increment financing or what have you. So that's pretty common, just to have them apply, see what they need. We run it through our analysis. We make sure that they only get what they need and not fill their pockets anymore, that just to fill the gap. So we're pretty good at that on a case-by-case basis. And yeah, we won't know the bond rating until we issue a bond. So, because it costs money, and it gets paid for from the bond proceeds, which then in turn would get special assessed back to these benefited property owners, right, in the industrial park. So we won't know. I assume, you guys don't have any outstanding bonds. You've got a lot of money in the bank. You pay your bills. We're going to get some plans put together, some financial plans and some policies. We've already got some of those going right now. You'd probably be in the AA category. So, right in the middle there, really good, just, almost to the top, right? AAA is the top. So we have a lot to do in Crookston. We don't want to set ourselves up for a fall. So we want to make sure that the rating agencies knows what we're doing now and our plans for the future. Like Corky had said, we're working on other regular municipal projects that need to be done too, and nothing gets any cheaper, right? So we're probably going to end up bonding for some of this stuff too. in the future in accordance with our financial plan that we'll be putting together as well. But yeah, we're all good for June 10th, whatever deadline you're talking about. We've got the capacity. This isn't a very big bond issue between 1 and 3 million. It's really just about the risk of, we want to make sure it gets paid back. We want to make sure in the meantime that the city has the means to help pay it back, right? If we don't have enough property owners to do that, which we probably won't off the cuff, right, out of the chute. So we just, you know, it's not uncommon to take a risk like this for, you know, all the benefits that it's going to create, right? We talked about job creation, tax capacity is going to go up, and we're going to have a vibrant, you know, industrial park, right? So, and it's going to be shovel ready. So it doesn't get any better than that. It's, you know, something just we need to think about as a city and as an EDA. If you know, all this wonderful money that Gary's chasing is something we don't want slip away, right? And the project costs don't get any cheaper, right? So I guess you got to kind of think of it as, is this an opportunity to lock and load here at some point? So.
Any other questions? I want to just say thank you, Todd, and for hanging with us on it. And thank you to Chet and Sean, and thank you to Nick and Tom and our Public Works for Chuck and Brandon and everybody else who's been helping us on this. It's so many moving parts, so that's why when somebody asks a question, we have to talk to, and there's probably 5 people that should be here tonight to answer any other questions, because that's how many people. So everybody's really worked hard to pull this together, and they're an excellent team to work with, so thank you guys so much. And that's all I have for you, Your Honor.
Thank
Good?
you.
Thank you,
Yep.
Carrie. Thank
See you guys at 7 o'clock in the morning.
7.
Only some of us.
Yes. Okay, last item is city administrator contract discussion. I think Corky's got a little information.
I've been working with Patty and also Jeff, and I can tell you that Jeff has indicated some of the terms that he is agreeable to with the proposed agreement. You have a kind of a template from the past. He has indicated he would be able to start at the latest July 15th. If he would be able to start earlier, he would indicate. The salary that he has said would be acceptable is $135,000 with a review in 6 months. He indicated that he would like moving expenses in the amount of $5,000, and those would be in vehicle rental, fuel, temporary lodging and meals, and reimbursement for moving would be made upon receipt by the city of documentation of those expenses that they have been incurred, and the city would decide if they are reasonable. All of the other portions of the agreement which you have, the template, were agreeable to him. I spoke with Patty and with Jeff today, and I told him that if the council had any questions or differences, we would get back to him with those. But otherwise, if it's okay with you, we would prepare a resolution to that effect for the June 10th.
Was this Amy's original agreement?
No, Amy's was not considered, but somewhat different, a lesser salary.
You might want to review the pronouns on there. And
We
maybe
did,
make
we
them
took that
gender
already
neutral.
out. We took it
Okay.
and made changes.
And then also, did he ask for 6 years seniority already as first day of work?
Yes, and that would be necessary for him to accrue vacation and benefits at the rate that's set forth here. Do you have any?
Was that similar to what?
I think we had the
That's
same.
similar to Amy
Yeah.
when she came, yes.
So that after a year, if, say, if this party leaves, what effect does that have?
Well, you don't
Have
have,
on retirement or anything else?
no, no.
Okay, and then when he asked for review after 6 months, is his expectation that his salary would then go up?
I think that's his expectation, but that would be dependent on your all evaluation
And what,
of
do you recall, I don't have it off the top of my head, what the range was in their initial?
135 to 150.
Okay. Okay.
Any other discussion on it?
No, I think it's pretty,
Outside of the pronouns, I would just make them gender neutral.
They're changed in this agreement. I didn't bring this forward, but this is, we had one prepared that he has seen with the proper pronouns with what you're discussing.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
I guess it's just, what does someone get with 6-year? Not that I'm against it, just
It's
understand.
the amount of hours, so you
Okay.
get 40 in sick and then 80 in vacation.
And then does it affect the retirement? Was my,
Well, he becomes a member of the PERA, and he has the I believe it was 6 years of
Seniority.
seniority.
okay.
So that he's vested upon his first day of work.
I don't know the answer to that, but I believe that's correct.
Okay,
And I can find that out on the PERA vesting.
Yeah.
okay.
yes, I think we should move forward.
Yep.
Everybody good?
Good.
Okay.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.